The conference room felt oppressive as I stared at the spreadsheet on my laptop, the numbers blurring together in a haze of exhaustion and frustration. For a decade, Palmer Tech had been my life, a legacy I poured everything into after Dad passed away. I thought I was preserving his dream, keeping it alive with my sister Sarah. I thought we were in this together. Elena? Sarah's voice cut through the fog of my concentration. I looked up to see her leaning against the doorframe, perfectly polished in her designer suit, her lips curled into a smirk. "We need to talk," she said. I shut my laptop, forcing a smile. "Of course. What's on your mind?" She stepped into the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor like a countdown. "I heard about your meeting with Quantum Industries yesterday," she said, her tone dripping with mock innocence. "Planning to sell the company?" My chest tightened. The meeting was confidential, something even the board hadn't been briefed on yet. "How do you know about that?" Sarah laughed, sharp and cold. "Oh, Elena, do you really think you can make moves like that without me knowing? I have eyes and ears everywhere in this building. But here's the thing, you can't sell the company." I stood, forcing my shaky legs to hold steady. "Actually, as CEO and majority shareholder, I—" "Wrong," she interrupted, pulling a sleek folder from her designer bag. "While you were busy honoring Dad's legacy," she said, her manicured fingers forming air quotes, "I was busy securing my own." She slid the folder across the table. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing stock certificates and transfer documents. My stomach churned as I realized what they meant. Sarah had been quietly buying out minor shareholders, amassing a controlling interest in the company. "I own 51% of Palmer Tech now," she said, her voice dripping with triumph. "Surprise, big sister." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Why would you do this, Sarah?" "Why?" Her expression hardened. "Because I'm tired of being in your shadow. Dad's perfect hair gets the CEO title while I'm left with scraps." "Please." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "This isn't about the company's future, Elena. It's about me finally having control." "This isn't what Dad would have wanted," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "He built this company to help people, to make a difference. And now I'll decide how it makes a difference," she snapped. "Oh, and clear out your office by Friday. The board will vote on new leadership, and guess who holds the deciding vote?" She sauntered out, her heels echoing like a victory march. I sat back down, staring at the folder that felt heavier than it had any right to. Sarah thought she won, but Dad had taught me better. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number I'd memorized weeks ago. "Mr. Chen, it's Elena. Remember that contingency plan we discussed? It's time to put it into motion." Sarah thought she understood this company, understood me, but she didn't know about Dad's hidden safeguards or the lengths I'd go to protect his legacy. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's the story of how I fought back, and it's far from over. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper and an old USB drive. My hands trembled as I unfolded the letter, Maya leaning in close beside me. "My dearest Elena," it began, written in Dad's familiar, steady handwriting. "If you're reading this, then something has happened that threatens the company. I always hoped this day wouldn't come, but hope alone isn't enough. You need to prepare for the worst while striving for the best." I glanced at Maya, who was reading over my shoulder, her brow furrowed in concentration. I turned back to the letter. "When I founded Palmer Tech, I vowed that it would always stand for innovation, integrity, and most importantly, the people who make it thrive. I watched you grow into a leader who embodies these values, but I also seen shadows, discord and ambition that could divide and destroy everything we've built. On this USB drive, you'll find documents detailing the true ownership of Palmer Tech's most valuable patents and intellectual property. While the company trades publicly, its core technology, what truly makes it valuable, is held in a separate trust. This trust activates under specific conditions and names one trustee, you, Elena." I froze, the words sinking in. "This means—" Maya started, her legal instincts already engaged. "Keep reading," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Anyone can buy shares of Palmer Tech, but without control of these patents, they're left with nothing but an empty shell. I structured it this way to safeguard against hostile takeovers. The trust activates if anyone other than you claims majority control of the company's shares. I'm sorry if this creates tension within the family. Nothing would have made me happier than seeing my daughters united, working together. But I've seen how power can corrupt and ambition can blind. Elena, this trust places the future of Palmer Tech in your hands. Use this power wisely. True leadership isn't about domination. It's about guidance, support, and vision. Love, Dad. I leaned back in my chair, stunned. Maya was already pulling her laptop out of her bag. Let me see the USB drive, she said urgently. For the next 2 hours, we pored over the documents. Dad had been meticulous. Every patent, every trade secret was secured in the trust, with airtight legal protections filed across multiple jurisdictions. Elena, Maya said, her voice steady but intense, this changes everything. Sarah may own 51% of the shares. But without these patents, Palmer Tech is nothing more than an empty name and a few office buildings. Before I could respond, a knock at the door made us both jump. It was Mr. Chen, looking calm but resolute. I see you've opened the envelope, he said, glancing at the spread of papers on my desk. You knew about this? I asked, suspicion creeping into my voice. He nodded. Your father named me the executor of the trust. I've been waiting for this moment. When you called about the share transfers, I knew it was time. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Your father insisted you discover it on your own when the stakes were highest. He believed that power unveiled in crisis would be wielded more responsibly than power granted freely. I stood and walked to the window, staring out at the city skyline. Palmer Tech's logo glowed brightly against the night. Sarah's going to be livid, I murmured. She already is, Mr. Chen said. The question is, how will you respond? Before I could answer, the door burst open, and Sarah stormed in, flanked by her legal team. Elena, she snapped. What is this? The board just got wind of some trust claiming ownership of the patents. What did you do? I met her furious gaze, feeling a surprising calm wash over me. This isn't something I did, Sarah. It's something Dad did, to protect the company. Her face reddened with anger. This is just another one of your schemes to keep me out, to make sure I never step out of your shadow. Sarah, this isn't about me or you, it's about Palmer Tech. Dad wanted us to work together. She scoffed, turning to her lawyers. We'll tear this apart. One of them cleared his throat, his face pale. Miss Palmer, it's ironclad. The patents are legally secured in the trusts, and your father ensured they couldn't be contested. Sarah faltered, the weight of the realization hitting her. For a moment, her rage gave way to something deeper, hurt, maybe even regret. Sarah, I said softly, stepping closer, this doesn't have to be a fight. Dad left us both something valuable. He trusted me with the patents, but he trusted you with the shares. Maybe he wanted us to figure this out together. Her expression hardened. Work together. After this, why should I trust you? I hesitated, then said quietly, because we're sisters. And because despite everything, I know you care about this company as much as I do. The room was silent, save for the muffled hum of the city below. Finally, Sarah's shoulders slumped, the fire in her eyes dimming. What are you proposing? Maya stepped forward, holding a draft proposal. If I may, I've outlined a plan that would allow both of you to lead, leveraging your unique strengths while protecting the company's integrity. Sarah glanced at the document, then at me. This doesn't mean I trust you, she said, her voice tinged with lingering resentment. I know, I replied, but maybe it's a start. As Maya outlined the plan, I watched Sarah's expression shift, anger giving way to cautious consideration. This wasn't the end of our challenges, but it felt like the beginning of something new. Dad's legacy wasn't just a company, it was a lesson. A challenge for us to rise above our differences and build something stronger together. 3 months later, I found myself back in the same conference room where everything had started. The sunlight poured through the tall windows, casting a golden glow over the neatly arranged spreadsheets and presentation slides. To my right, Maya was going through our notes one last time, her calm presence a steadying force. Across the table, Sarah sat poised, looking every bit the professional, yet with a softness I hadn't noticed before. Are we ready? She asked, glancing at her watch. The board will be here in 10 minutes. I nodded, a mix of nerves and cautious optimism buzzing in my chest. As ready as we'll ever be. Did you finalize the projections for the new division? She slid a folder across the table with a smirk that carried the faintest echo of our old rivalry. You know I'm always prepared. I chuckled, surprised by how much lighter the banter felt. The last few months had been grueling, Late nights, intense debates, and more than a few moments when we questioned whether we could ever find common ground. But somehow, through Maya's guidance and sheer determination, we'd restructured Palmer Tech into something that reflected both our visions. Maya's plan was genius in its simplicity: divide the company into complementary divisions. I would remain CEO, overseeing research and development to honor Dad's technological legacy, while Sarah took the reins as president of operations and strategy, driving the business expansion she'd always dreamed of. "The board's here," Maya announced, gathering her papers. "Time to shine." As the board members filed in, I caught Sarah's eye. She gave me a small nod. Our unspoken promise that we had each other's backs. It had taken countless therapy sessions, brutally honest conversations, and more than a few tears to get to this point. But for the first time, we were more than just reluctant collaborators. We were sisters again. "Good morning, everyone," I began, rising to address the room. "Today, Sarah and I are proud to present a new direction for Palmer Tech. A vision that marries innovation with expansion, blending our strengths to build a stronger future." The presentation flowed seamlessly, Sarah and I alternating sections like a well-rehearsed team. We outlined our plans for international growth, groundbreaking research, and a governance structure that reflected transparency and collaboration. The board members leaned forward, engaged, their skepticism melting away with each slide. "This is extraordinary," said James Anderson, the board's senior member. "When the shared dispute erupted 3 months ago, I feared the worst. But what you've accomplished here is remarkable. It's exactly what Thomas Palmer would have wanted." Sarah's grip on her pen tightened at the mention of Dad, but her voice remained steady. "We've come to understand more about what Dad truly wanted, not just for the company, but for us." As the meeting wrapped up and the board members departed with enthusiastic congratulations, Sarah and I lingered. The silence between us felt natural now, not charged with tension like before. "Remember when we used to play office in Dad's study?" Sarah asked suddenly, gazing out the window. "You were always the boss." I laughed softly. "And you always argued about it. You were right, though. It wasn't fair." She turned to me, her expression thoughtful. "Neither was what I did. Buying up shares behind your back, trying to take over. I was so focused on what I thought I deserved that I couldn't see what you were trying to protect." "And what was that?" "Dad's legacy. You weren't fighting me, you were fighting for him. I just couldn't see it then." I joined her at the window, where the Palmer Tech logo gleamed on the building across the street. "I found an old photo album in Dad's study last week," I said, pulling up a picture on my phone. It showed two little girls in oversized business suits, barely containing their giggles as they sat at Dad's desk. Sarah smiled, her eyes softening. "I remember that day. Dad let us sit in on a board meeting for 5 whole minutes before he kicked us out. We thought we were so grown up." "Well," I said, "I think we finally are." The door opened and Maya popped her head in. "Elena, your R&D team is waiting." "Sarah, the strategic planning committee is in conference room B." Dewey called, but before we parted, Sarah touched my arm. "Elena, thank you for giving me a second chance." I squeezed her hand. That's what big sisters are for. Later that evening, I found a note on my desk in Sarah's handwriting. "Dinner tonight? Dad's favorite Italian place. My treat. Let's celebrate our first board meeting as partners." I smiled, replying, "Only if we split the bill." "Partners, remember?" Her response came quickly. "Deal. But I'm ordering the expensive wine. Sharing, right?" As I packed up, I glanced at the photo of Dad on my wall. "You knew, didn't you?" I whispered. "You knew we'd figure it out, just not without a fight." That evening, over wine and laughter, Sarah and I talked about everything: childhood memories, our plans for the company, and dreams for the future. Somewhere between the pasta and dessert, I realized this was the real legacy Dad had left us. The chance to rediscover each other and build something stronger together. "To Dad," Sarah said, raising her glass. "For being smarter than the both of us." "And to us," I added, clinking my glass against hers. "For finally figuring it out."